How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the Snap Academy. I'm Muse. Today, we're breaking down some news and some data mines and some leaks and kind of talking about kind of the general state of Marvel Snap, where we see it going, kind of the roadmap ahead. It's a new series I want to start doing every Friday, just kind of talking about the patches, the OTAs as they come out, to give my own perspective on the game. We do a lot of deck techs on the channel, so I really want to dive into kind of the back end stuff, the things that you guys might not see, things from the developers, things that I see coming down the line, and really just kind of dive into those things. So let's really just jump in and get going, starting with one of our newest data mined cards from the patch, Assan. So Assan is a 613 currently. Remember, all of these are subject to change. Things change in data mines all the time, so take most of this with a grain of salt. These are just kind of my initial thoughts on the data mine. So 613 legendary, we'll get back to that later. At the start of the game, if all your cards have a different power, give them +2 power. So Assan is another celestial, another kind of game-breaking card, if you will, which is super powerful. Let's just start kind of breaking down, my thoughts and everything. Legendary, that really kind of is the part that people are forgetting about. We don't have really any keywords or tags or anything like that in the game keyword yet. So this looks like something that could be kind of how they're implementing the big bad system. Those of you that have been around Marvel Snap for the past 2 years, once they started implementing the series drops in the series system, they said that the big bads would always be in Series 5, always 6,000 tokens. Other than that, it's really just been an arbitrary thing. With this legendary tag, however, that kind of gives it a little bit more merit, and kind of my thought behind it is kind of a deck building restriction, only being able to have one legendary card in your deck. So cards like Thanos, even Kang probably, Galactus, Assan, Arishem, those kind of game-changing cards, those meta-shifting cards, High Evolutionary probably as well, could get that legendary tag, so you can't combine them. My first thought, throwing Assan in an Arishem deck, just having a super celestial deck, sounds a little broken. Kind of giving that deck building restriction to legendary keeps you from being able to play Assan and Arishem in the same deck, or Thanos and High Evo. So it kind of breaks down those builds, so you can't really do them anymore, which I think is kind of a cool way, especially as we're getting more and more cards. Instead of having to ban cards from being played together, this is kind of like a soft way to do that, which a lot of TCGs, card players really all do anyway with their systems. Magic the Gathering, you have a legendary creature, you can only have one on the battlefield at once. Obviously this is a singleton format and you can only have one anyway. It keeps the legendary cards from being played together, which could be good and healthy for the meta. They could give other cards legendary, but we will see. Again, this is all speculation. So at the start of the game, just like the other Celestial Arishem, if all your cards have different powers, give them +2 power. Again, this is another kind of deck building restriction, hard on the air quotes, which really just makes it good. You can throw a hodgepodge of cards together and still have a good deck because you're playing value cards for a good amount of power. So you can even have a few 1-drops like Hydra Bob, that's a 5. You have Silver Sable, that's a 0. You have Iceman at a 2. You can fill out a lot of this with just 1-drops to get extra value out of those 1-drops. Maybe drop in a Wiccan for more energy to play more things. This is very broken and I think a little overcooked. I don't see this card necessarily staying the way it is, especially since it's a 613, which, I mean, the Hulk is a 612 with no upside at all. So, I mean, there's no way that this card stays the way it is. I think it's broken, supposedly coming out March 4th, but we will see. I am excited for this card. I think it could be super cool. I think it will break everything and people will lose their minds, as we all do in the Marvel Snap community, but we'll see. Before we go on to the next card, I want to invite you all to leave your hot takes in the comments, and every Saturday we do post Hot Take Saturday. so that you guys can get your hot takes on Marvel Snap. So this could be kind of featured in the middle here. I want to hear your opinions about the matter, or just leave me a nice comment that I can read aloud to all of our friends here. So with that being said, leave those down below, and let's kick into Starbrand. So Starbrand is a 6/8 start of the game, +2 power for each card in your deck with 10 or more power. So this is just more Surtur beatdown. I don't know why they think that we need more of that, but hey, it's a cool looking card. I like the visuals. I think he's just kind of like 10,000 BC Hulk with the Starbrand. He kind of does a little bit of the same as the other Hulks, you know, kind of gaining power with the high Evo Hulk, gaining power for energy. He gains power for cards that have 10 power, kind of absorbing their power into his own. I kind of dig it. It's fun. I don't think it's too broken. I can definitely win a lane by itself, especially if you have, you know, even 2 other cards. He becomes a 6/12, which is on par, you know, for the rate, like a Magneto. You throw another one in there, he's a 14. It can get out of control really quick. So I think this is, you know, going to just kind of fit into that Surtur big boy build with just another extra payoff at the end. We'll see. I myself find this kind of playstyle boring. Just kind of big monsters, do thing, hit in face. Not my playstyle. I like to do a little bit more movie things, a little bit more, you know, back and forth between everybody. This is a deck that's probably not going to, because we already see it, interact at all other than maybe Arrow. Overall, you know, I think people will be very excited for this card because it's a big beat stick and you just throw it down and it looks cool. And I'm sure it's going to have super awesome variants. The one variance that has been data mined isn't great yet, but I'm sure it's got potential for more. We will see. Before we get to the last two, I want to go over some news and just kind of hot takes. You know, I'm kind of jumping around a lot, kind of figuring out where I want to go with everything. But I really want to talk about kind of the state of Scream. This has been a hot topic that's been going back and forth in the Discord for a while. And basically, they're saying that Scream taking power from cards when they have Luke Cage on the battlefield is a bug. So that means the way Scream is meant to happen is if Luke Cage is on the field, Scream doesn't get anything at all. Period. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Which is interesting because that does increase the value of Luke Cage a lot. So this is definitely going to get patched. It did not get patched in the recent patch for January 14th, which did have some things. We'll go over that here in a minute. But it's kind of weird. You know, I like the way Scream plays. Scream was definitely my favorite card of last year. Love the deck. It just needs a better supporting cast. And this is really kind of a beatdown for Scream. You know, people do, you know, play Luke Cage in decks regularly. And I understand that there's a need to kind of have a card that shuts down a deck. But this shuts it down pretty hard. You know, like Armor, yes, shuts down Destroy, and so does Cosmo, but that's one lane. Luke Cage is, you know, the entire side of their battlefield with no downside. There's zero downside to Luke Cage other than he's a 3 cost, which is whatever. You're playing Luke Cage for 3, and if you need him, you drop him down, boom, Bob's your uncle. So this is definitely weird. I mean, so Glenn's thought on the matter in his metaphor, which, you know, makes sense, is if you take $1, then you have $1. So say they have a card, you take their $1, you now have $1. But if you have Luke Cage on the battlefield, then they don't have $1 technically, so you can't take $1. Per metaphor. And then to continue the metaphor, because again, we as Marvel Snap players like to complain and make things overcomplicated, went in and was like, oh, what about when we put Luke Cage back on the field later? He's like, well, it's an insurance policy. You know, you had the $1 was stolen, now the insurance is paying you for the $1. It makes sense. So again, I understand kind of the logic behind it, but I don't know how I feel about it. You guys let me know. Are you playing Scream? We'll see what this we'll see how that goes later. The other part of the patch for January 14th, that wasn't part of the patch, it was just kind of talked around the same time as the patch this week, is the card acquisition changes, which I think, are super awesome, especially for, newer players. My editor, Robert, he, got it. He got, I think it was something like 10 cards after saving up 10,000 for that week, which, helped him with his collection. I think he had a few cards that he actually really enjoyed, like Coulson, Arrow, one other card. But this is definitely helpful for those that, haven't been playing for the entire time. It kind of put it back to zero for how we used to get Series 3 cards. Let me explain. So I can't remember the exact math, but there's something like, we'll just make it easy for everybody. Say back in the day, there was 50 Series 3 cards. It took, 2.5, 3 months to get all the Series 3 cards with the way it was. Well, now that there's double that, basically they doubled the chances to get it. So they halved it, putting it back to normal. So what it used to be. So kind of put it back to zero. I think it's a good band-aid. I didn't find climbing too bad back when I first started. It was fun, but also, the meta wasn't figured out. We weren't chasing these Series 4 and 5 cards. Everything was Series 3. We didn't even have Series names at that point yet. I think it was until Thanos. I can't remember exactly when that started, but it didn't feel bad. I felt accomplished when I finished Series 3, got into the bigger pools, and for the most part, could keep up. I don't know if the second part of this, increasing the token payout from Spotlight Cash duplicates from 1,000 to 2,000, is going to keep everybody up. Now you only need 3 cards instead of 6 to get you there, but I mean that's a huge amount. So if you 4-bang 3 weeks in a row, you basically get a Series 5 card out of it, or 2 weeks you get 1.5 Series 4 cards. I mean it's a good start. I like what they're doing here. I hope that everybody else kind of sees it. I want to know how does everybody feel about it. I haven't been Series 3 in 2 years, so I'm not sure. But again, let me know. I don't know how this feels. I enjoy the extra tokens, but that's really the only part I get out of it. I think they also ended up taking out, it may have been gold keys to fill in for that extra chance for the Series 3 cards, which will be super nice if we get less gold tickets, because no one really plays Conquest except to get a variance and then never again. And then the rest of the updates, just kind of adding keyword game start. I think that they, again, kind of going back to the legendary thing, trying to shorten some of these things. I do like that, when you look at a card in Marvel Snap, you can read it, you know exactly what it does. You're not stuck with keywords like double strike, first strike, lifelink, all these other things that other games have to do because their cards have gotten so complicated, which is nice. So that was Agatha, Thanos, Watu, poor Watu, especially watching What If and Watu just kicking ass. I really like that. Kind of felt bad for the snap card of Watu. Maybe he'll get a buff. Battle ready Watu would be super cool. Or even just the whole What If crew. That could be a great season of cards. Talking new second ender. And then Emperor Hulkling also got it. Nothing too crazy there. We got the OTAs coming out for me. That would be tomorrow. We'll do that update next week to kind of talk about it. And that was really all the patch notes. Nothing too crazy. The big thing was card acquisition. Again, let me know what you think. So for our next data mine card, we have Agamotto. Kind of like the Eye of Agamotto, what Doctor Strange uses in the MCU. Really everybody uses with the eye and all that good stuff. He's a 612 right now. Again, this is super subject to change. It also says he's a release date of March 4th. We'll see. But at the start of the game, shuffle spells into your deck. That's kind of cool. It's kind of that same kind of random generation effect that Nico has with all of her spells, except you're kind of getting like the stones version of that, putting those into your deck. There's no description on them. I just really like the art, and I like the idea of this card a lot. Probably also going to get the legendary tag, I would assume. I feel like any card that, you know, is doing this kind of thing, adding things to your deck, changing the rules of the game like Galactus, changing cards like High Evolutionary, I feel like those cards are the ones that are going to get the legendary tag, so that there's like, again, that big bad, which are always going to sit at 6,000 tokens. So kind of our archetype defining cards are going to sit on that legendary spot. Again, I'm just kind of spitballing here. This is what I think. Let me know what you think. And finally, we're looking at Fire Hair. Fire Hair currently is a 2/2. You move this once. When this moves, revive one of your destroyed cards here. I understand the flavor, kind of with that Phoenix Force kind of deal, but I don't necessarily know exactly what I want to do with this. When you destroy your own card, they're usually smaller cards. So if you do that with Misery, you're destroying like an Iceman, a Master Mold, a Scorpion, cards like that where you don't necessarily need the power and you really want the payoff for that card at the beginning of the game, which is why they're, you know, kind of lower cost. The most likely scenario could be you eat something on turn 5, I guess. Yeah, you have to eat it on turn 5 so that you can play it again. So if you Venom Infinite somehow, I guess that could be cool. I don't know what that line looks like wave on 3. No, that doesn't work because you need to have, geez, how would that work? You would need to, because you have to play it on 4. Okay, whatever another big one is. Maybe Starbrand. You know, you get him out on 4, you eat it with a Venom. Yeah, so you do Firehawk, Fire Hair on 2, Wave on 3, Big Bad, you know, Magneto on 4, Venom on 5, and then Firehawk move on 6, plus another Big Bad. There you go. There's the line. That's how you play Fire Hair. We'll see. Again, not a lot to this card right now. Nothing too crazy. I think it could be cool. Again, it's a different version of Phoenix Force because I think Fire Hair, again, is like a Phoenix Force host. She's got Phoenix Force vibes. I dig her variants. They also give, you know, fire vibes, Phoenix Force vibes. So that's the flavor behind it, which I dig. I don't think I would play this in a Phoenix Force deck because, again, you want to eat small thing and then move thing after you merge with it. That's kind of the thing for a Phoenix Force deck. So I think, yeah, the line is definitely going to be Venom, big thing, move on 6. We'll see. And then there's a couple other cards, like Khonshu, which doesn't have any text yet. Khonshu's currently a 2/1. I mean, I like that Khonshu's coming. Hopefully he works with Moon Knight in some way. That'd be super cool. And then also we have some changes to the upcoming season, like Cobra 2/3. Activate, switch an enemy card here that didn't start in your opponent's deck. Put it on your side. It's kind of like an anti-Airsham, anti-shield card. It's kind of cool. A little tech against that. And then Red Wing did also change a little bit. It was kind of like a bounce thing, but now it says the first time this moves, add a card from your hand to the old location, which I kind of dig. It's like a reverse Doc Ock. You move it, hopefully you have big thing in hand. Maybe you're playing, you know, like that Firebrand deck, and you move thing, grab big thing, put big thing on, you know, it works. So that's a different way. Red Wing kind of worked with Falcon before, you know, as another bounce card, but this is different. It's giving more of that Surtur energy feel to it, but there might be some cool things we haven't thought of yet. Could still possibly bounce, like if you only have that bounce card in your hand, who knows? But again, these are all just data mined. They're all subject to change. Who knows what happens there? So overall, you know, a lot of exciting things in store for us. Didn't want to make this video too long. Just kind of going over just kind of the bullet points, let you all know what's going on so that you can kind of get a gauge on, you know, what is happening. You know, let me know what other things you want me to cover, things I haven't thought of yet. So I'm going to definitely be doing updates, data mines, things that I see, you know, in the Discord, updates from them. So if you enjoy this, make sure you snap the subscribe and like buttons. And again, just let me know what you think and what your thoughts of the game in general are. Till then, happy snapping.